First Contact's hidden hand. Ambassador Diana Reeves stood before the mirror in her quarters aboard the Earth diplomatic vessel Peaceful Discourse, adjusting her ceremonial sash for the 7th time. The rich blue fabric, embroidered with Earth's diplomatic insignia, caught the light in a way that almost, but not quite, concealed the reactive armor weave underneath. Ambassador, the Nexar delegation is requesting to dock, announced First Secretary Marcus Wong, his perfectly pressed uniform bearing what appeared to be decorative pins that happened to double as emergency beacon transmitters. Wonderful! Diana beamed, deliberately knocking over a cup of tea that Marcus caught without looking. Let's give them the full diplomatic welcome. The Nexar Confederation had emerged as a major power in the galactic community over the past solar cycle, their crystalline warships and imposing military presence causing smaller species to seek protection agreements. Earth, with its curious policy of maintaining only a diplomatic corps and no standing military, had drawn their attention. As the Nexar shuttle approached the Peaceful Discourse's docking bay, Chief Cultural Exchange Officer Zara Nazari monitored their approach through what she insisted was simply a ceremonial monocle. 6 armed escorts accompanying their diplomatic vessel, Ambassador. They're being very cultural. Standard procedure for first contact scenarios, Diana replied, somehow managing to trip over her own feet while executing a perfect tactical assessment of the docking bay's defensive capabilities. Though I do hope they won't necessitate a demonstration of our more persuasive diplomatic protocols. The Nexar delegation emerged from their shuttle like living obsidian, their crystalline forms refracting light in mesmerizing patterns. High Commander Vexler led them, his faceted head tilted at precisely 37 degrees, the universal angle of superiority. Greetings, representatives of Earth. Vexthor's translated voice resonated through the chamber. We are intrigued by your species' unusual approach to galactic affairs. A civilization with no military forces seems vulnerable. Diana stumbled slightly, somehow using the movement to position herself between the Nexar delegation and the ship's critical systems. Oh, we manage quite well with just our diplomatic corps. Would you care for a tour of our purely ceremonial facilities? As they moved through the ship, Vexthor's crystalline eyes registered everything. The suspiciously reinforced bulkheads, the diplomatic staff who moved with curious precision, the cultural exchange chambers that bore remarkable resemblance to weapon batteries. Fascinating vessel, he commented, gesturing to a nearby console. Though these appear to be targeting cyst. Diplomatic coordination interfaces. Marcus interrupted smoothly. For arranging cultural exchanges. Speaking of which, would you be interested in a demonstration of Earth's traditional first contact protocols? Diana activated her datapad, accidentally enabling what absolutely wasn't a combat readiness assessment. We've prepared a delightful presentation on human customs. Though I should warn you, our enthusiasm for cultural exchange can be quite explosive. The tour continued, with Diana maintaining her carefully crafted image of diplomatic bumbling, while Zara's ceremonial monocle definitely wasn't scanning Nexar shield frequencies. The Nexar delegation grew increasingly unsettled as they noticed more coincidences. Crew members who moved like trained fighters, diplomatic pouches that hummed with contained energy, and sensor readings that suggested their hosts' ceremonial escort vessels carried enough firepower to level a small moon. As they reached the observation deck, Vexthor finally confronted their hosts. You expect us to believe this is merely a diplomatic vessel. Our scans indicate military-grade systems throughout. Diana knocked over another cup of tea that hadn't been there a moment before. Oh dear, What an unfortunate misunderstanding. Earth simply believes in being thoroughly prepared for our diplomatic duties. After all, cultural exchange can be quite vigorous. These are weapon systems. Vexthor's crystalline form vibrated with frustration. Diplomatic facilitators, Marcus corrected smoothly. For encouraging peaceful dialogue. Those are clearly missile tubes. Rapid deployment communique dispensers, Zara offered helpfully. For delivering messages with particular urgency. The exchange was interrupted by a priority alert. Marcus's fingers danced across his datapad. Ambassador, it appears a Nexar battle group has just entered the Rigel system, demanding protection treaties from 3 independent worlds. How unfortunate, Diana sighed, her practiced clumsiness vanishing like morning mist. High Commander Vexthor, it seems we'll need to schedule an immediate diplomatic exchange concerning your fleet's activities. Zara, please prepare the cultural demonstration packages, the ones with the antimatter warheads. They're not warheads, Marcus added quickly. They're very enthusiastic diplomatic proposals. Vexthor's crystalline form stiffened as he finally understood. Humanity hadn't abandoned military power. They'd simply disguised it so perfectly that the galaxy had missed the obvious. Every diplomatic vessel was a warship. Every cultural exchange officer was a trained warrior. Every clumsy ambassador was a skilled tactician. Now then, Diana smiled, her diplomatic sash shimmering with barely contained power. Shall we discuss the appropriate protocols for peaceful coexistence? Earth's diplomatic corps can be very persuasive when properly motivated. As the peaceful discourse moved to intercept the Nexar battle group, Diana prepared her report to Earth Command. Sometimes the best way to maintain peace was to be extremely good at war, while convincing everyone you knew nothing about it at all. The art of peaceful persuasion, Commander Rajesh Patel of the EDV, Earth Diplomatic Vessel. Cordial discussion had a gift for peaceful negotiations, particularly the kind involving strategic deployment of diplomatic resolution packages, which absolutely weren't quantum torpedoes. As his ship led Earth's diplomatic flotilla toward the Rigel system, he calmly sipped his chai while reviewing tactical assessments disguised as cultural exchange reports. "Status update on our Nexar friends," he asked, deliberately spilling sugar across his console in a pattern that precisely matched the enemy fleet formation. Lieutenant Iris Zhang, officially listed as Assistant Cultural Attaché, glanced up from her definitely not a battle station. 3 Nexar dreadnoughts maintaining protective orbit around Rigel Ioe, sir. Their idea of protection involves targeting the planet's major population centers with what they claim are friendship beams. How delightfully diplomatic of them, Rajesh mused, his casual tone belying the precise calculations running through his mind. And our cultural exchange task force. The peaceful discourse is maintaining position near the system's edge with Ambassador Reeves continuing discussions with High Commander Vexthor. The amicable resolution and friendly persuasion are in flanking positions, for optimal cultural exchange purposes, of course. The bridge crew maintained their carefully practiced appearance of diplomatic staff, though anyone paying close attention might have noticed how their seemingly random movements created perfect covering positions. Years of training had taught them that the best way to hide their capabilities was to make them seem impossibly obvious. "Sir," called out Communications Officer James O'Malley, his ceremonial headset scanning quantum frequencies, "we're receiving a rather forceful cultural proposal from Nexar Command. They're suggesting we remove ourselves from their peacekeeping operation or face diplomatic consequences." Rajesh straightened his perfectly pressed uniform, which coincidentally activated his tactical combat systems. "Well, We should respond with appropriate diplomatic courtesy. Lieutenant Jiang, please prepare our cultural appreciation display, the one with the phase-shifted shields. Charging diplomatic protective fields. Iris confirmed, her fingers dancing across our station. Our ceremonial greeting lights are also ready. The greeting lights, of course, being the ship's primary weapon array. The massive Nexar dreadnoughts loomed ahead, their crystalline structures refracting starlight in beautiful but menacing patterns. Their commander, Sub-Admiral Krelthor, appeared on the main screen, his faceted features arranged in what passed for smugness among his species. Commander of the Earth vessel, Krelthor's translated voice dripped with condescension. Your presence is neither required nor welcome. The Nexar Confederation is conducting a peaceful integration of these systems. Ah, wonderful. Rajesh beamed, accidentally knocking over his cup in a way that activated the ship's targeting systems. We're great admirers of peace. In fact, we've prepared a special demonstration of Earth's peaceful initiatives. Sir, Iris interrupted, the Nexar ships are charging their main guns, their cultural exchange projectors. How enthusiastic of them, Rajesh smiled. Mr. O'Malley, please share with them our diplomatic handbook. Section 7, I believe. The one about proportional cultural responses. The bridge crew watched as technical specifications for Earth's diplomatic vessels scrolled across the Nexar command screens. Several crystalline officers developed visible cracks as they processed the information. These readings cannot be accurate, Krelthor sputtered. No diplomatic vessel carries this level of military-grade equipment. Military? Rajesh looked genuinely offended. My good Sub-Admiral, Earth disbanded its military decades ago. We simply believe in thoroughly equipped diplomatic missions. Those aren't weapon systems. They're vigorous negotiation facilitators. You expect us to believe those are not weapon platforms surrounding our fleet. Automated diplomatic liaison units, O'Malley corrected helpfully, for extending peaceful overtures at high velocity. The tension broke when a Nexar destroyer moved to escort a civilian transport from Rijal Aua. Rajesh's casual demeanor shifted subtly, though his friendly smile remained unchanged. Sub-Admiral, I feel compelled to demonstrate one of humanity's most cherished diplomatic traditions. He nodded to Iris, the Gandhi Gambit. Initiating peaceful response protocols. Iris announced as the cordial discussion executed a maneuver that somehow placed it between the Nexar destroyer and its target, while simultaneously targeting every critical system on the larger vessel. You see, Rajesh explained cheerfully as his ship's diplomatic arrays powered up, Earth has a saying, speak softly and carry a big stick, though we prefer to call it a ceremonial staff of peaceful discourse. What followed was what Earth's diplomatic records would later describe as an energetic exchange of cultural perspectives. The Nexar destroyer's weapons mysteriously malfunctioned after receiving what Rajesh insisted was just a friendly data packet. The dreadnoughts found their shields responding poorly to the diplomatic feedback from Earth's vessels. Within minutes, the Nexar fleet was experiencing what Rajesh's report would delicately term a comprehensive reformation of their diplomatic positions. As emergency beacons lit up the system and crystalline crews rushed to escape pods, Rajesh calmly poured himself another cup of chai. Mr. O'Malley, please convey our sincere diplomatic regards to Sub-Admiral Krelthor. Do remind him that Earth's diplomatic corps is always available for further cultural exchanges. As the Nexar fleet retreated in disarray, Rajesh added a final note to his report. Diplomatic mission successfully concluded through peaceful demonstration of human cultural practices. No military actions were necessary, as Earth maintains no military forces. The fact that 3 Nexar dreadnoughts would require extensive repairs after their cultural exchange was, of course, purely coincidental. Checkmate in the void. Strategic Operations Specialist Kira Volkov, a title which absolutely didn't mean Master Tactician, stood in the command center of Luna Base, Earth's primary diplomatic coordination facility. Holographic displays showed the ongoing situation across 3 sectors, where the Nexar Confederation's response to their recent diplomatic exchange was unfolding. They're not taking their cultural education very well, are they? She mused, absently rearranging holographic markers in what definitely wasn't a complex battle plan. Senior Diplomatic Coordinator Nathan Okafor looked up from his array of quantum computers disguised as filing systems. The Nexar have mobilized their entire northern fleet. Apparently, they're eager for more cultural discussions. Fascinating approach to diplomatic relations, Kira replied, her fingers dancing through the holographic display. Though I noticed they'd left their core worlds rather poorly attended. Almost as if they don't expect anyone to notice their vulnerable supply lines. The command center hummed with activity as diplomatic staff coordinated Earth's response. Every operator wore the simple blue uniform of the Diplomatic Corps, though their movements betrayed years of combat training. Message from Ambassador Reeves aboard the Peaceful Discourse called out Communications Director Leah Pottle. The Nexar High Command is demanding we cease our military interference in their territory. Military? Kira raised an eyebrow. How peculiar. Someone should remind them that Earth maintains no military forces. We're simply a very enthusiastic diplomatic service. She paused, studying the tactical overlay. Though perhaps we should demonstrate our enthusiasm more comprehensively. Ma'am, Nathan interrupted. We're detecting quantum signatures from the Arcturus Gateway. The Nexar are attempting to bring in reinforcements. Kira smiled, an expression that had preceded the diplomatic resolution of numerous conflicts. Perfect timing. Initiate Protocol Omega, the diplomatic version, of course. Across 3 sectors, Earth's diplomatic fleet began moving in precise formations that any military strategist would recognize as a classic pincer movement. But since Earth had no military, it was clearly just an elaborate cultural exchange pattern. Send word to Commander Petal on the cordial discussion, Kira ordered. Suggest that his team might enjoy conducting some cultural surveys near the Nexar supply lines. And notify Ambassador Reeves that her diplomatic skills may be required for some aggressive negotiation. The holographic display updated as dozens of Earth vessels moved into position. Each ship was officially classified as a diplomatic vessel, though their diplomatic facilities happened to include state-of-the-art weapons systems and military-grade shields. The Nexar commander is hailing us, Lee announced. General Zaxthor sounds rather upset. Put him through, Kira said, deliberately knocking over a cup of coffee in a way that activated Luna Base's defense grid. This should be enlightening. The crystalline face of General Zaxthor appeared, his faceted features arranged in what passed for fury among his species. You deceptive humans. Your diplomatic corps is nothing but a military force in disguise. My dear General, Kira replied, looking genuinely hurt. Earth has maintained no military forces for over 50 years. We simply believe in being thoroughly prepared for our diplomatic duties. She gestured to the tactical display. Though I note your own forces seem to be arranging themselves in what appears to be an attack formation. These are peaceful patrol vessels. Of course they are. Kira nodded sympathetically. Just as our ships are purely diplomatic. Though I should mention that several of our cultural exchange officers have expressed interest in conducting some impromptu demonstrations near your supply lines, purely for educational purposes. The General's crystalline form vibrated with barely contained rage. You wouldn't dare. The consequences would be entirely diplomatic. Kira finished smoothly. Though I should warn you that Earth's diplomatic protocols regarding threatened civilian populations can be quite vigorous. As if to emphasize her point, the holographic display showed Earth's diplomatic fleet executing a series of precise maneuvers that just happened to cut off every Nexar escape route while targeting their key strategic positions. A suggestion, General, Kira offered, her casual tone belying the steel beneath. Perhaps we could discuss the terms of a cultural exchange agreement, one that involves the immediate withdrawal of your peaceful pictorial vessels from independent systems. This is extortion. Not at all, Nathan interjected helpfully. It's simply enthusiastic diplomacy. Though we should mention that our diplomatic vessels are carrying their full complement of cultural exchange packages, the high-yield variety. The General's face shifted through several crystalline configurations before settling on resignation. You humans are impossible. You maintain the galaxy's most powerful military force while insisting it doesn't exist. Military force? Kira looked genuinely puzzled. I see only diplomatic vessels engaged in peaceful cultural exchange. Though I should note that our next exchange demonstration is scheduled to begin in approximately 5 minutes, and some of our cultural exchange officers can be quite enthusiastic about sharing human traditions. The Nexar fleet began to retreat, their formations breaking up as Earth's ships maintained their definitely not military positions. Kira watched with satisfaction as the hostile forces withdrew from independent space. Update Ambassador Reeves, she ordered. Inform her that the Nexar leadership appears receptive to peaceful diplomatic resolution, though perhaps we should schedule some additional cultural exchange demonstrations just to ensure the lesson takes. As Luna Base's staff celebrated another successful diplomatic intervention, Kira added a final note to her report. Peaceful resolution achieved through standard diplomatic protocols. No military actions were required or undertaken, as Earth maintains no military forces. The fact that the entire Nexar Northern Fleet would need extensive repairs after their cultural education was, naturally, purely coincidental. The diplomatic offensive. Ambassador Diana Reeves sat in her office aboard the Peaceful Discourse, surrounded by representatives from 7 different alien species. The recent diplomatic exchanges with the Nexar Confederation had attracted considerable attention from the galactic community, particularly from those who were beginning to see through Earth's carefully maintained facade. Let me be perfectly clear, Diana said, somehow managing to knock over 3 different data paths while simultaneously activating the ship's combat systems. Earth maintains no military forces. We are simply very dedicated to our diplomatic duties. Ambassador Kazoth of the Meloran Republic, their tentacles twisting in what passed for skepticism, gestured at a holographic display showing the recent cultural exchange with the Nexar fleet. Your diplomatic vessels just happen to execute perfect military maneuvers while deploying what you claim are peaceful negotiation devices. Fascinating coincidence, isn't it? Diana beamed, adjusting her ceremonial sash that definitely didn't contain advanced combat sensors. Humans have always been remarkably coordinated when sharing our cultural perspectives. The chamber hummed with barely contained tension as more reports filtered in. The Nexar Confederation's retreat had created a power vacuum, and various species were now looking at Earth's diplomatic corps with new understanding and new fear. Message from Luna Base. Marcus announced. entering the chamber with his usual precise grace that absolutely wasn't military training. Specialist Volkov reports increased activity along the Orion Arm. Several species are mobilizing there. Peaceful patrol fleets. How enthusiastic of them, Diana mused, accidentally enabling her tactical display while reaching for tea. Though I do hope they don't require the same level of cultural exchange as our Nexar friends. Ambassador Rix of the Silicon Collective, their crystalline form vibrating with calculations, spoke next. Our analysis suggests that Earth's diplomatic corps possesses enough firepower to challenge any three major powers combined. Yet you maintain this fiction of being purely diplomatic. Fiction. Diana looked genuinely hurt while expertly assessing combat angles in the chamber. I assure you, Earth's commitment to diplomacy is absolute. We simply believe in being prepared for vigorous negotiations. The chamber's holographic display updated, showing multiple fleets moving into position across the sector. The Meloran Republic, Silicon Collective, and several smaller powers were clearly testing Earth's responses, probing for weaknesses in their diplomatic coverage. Lieutenant Zhang of the Cordial Discussion reports that several Meloran vessels are conducting cultural surveys near Earth colonial space. Marcus reported his ceremonial pins transmitting encrypted tactical data. How wonderful! Diana exclaimed, knocking over another cup of non-existent tea. We should prepare a suitable welcome. Zara, please ready our cultural exchange packages, the ones with the quantum warheads. Diplomatic facilitation devices. Zara corrected smoothly from her position near the definitely not a weapons console. For encouraging peaceful dialogue. Ambassador Kizoth's tentacles writhed in agitation. This is absurd. Your entire diplomatic service is clearly a military force in disguise. My dear Ambassador, Diana sighed, her practiced clumsiness vanishing for just a moment. If Earth maintained a military, we would have to acknowledge all sorts of uncomfortable realities about power projection and military supremacy. Instead, we simply maintain an enthusiastic diplomatic corps that happens to be extremely good at resolving conflicts. The chamber's tension broke as new alerts flashed across the displays. Multiple fleets were converging on Earth's colonial territories, each claiming peaceful intentions while obviously testing humanity's resolve. It seems, Diana observed, her diplomatic sash shimmering with barely contained power, that we need to schedule several concurrent cultural exchanges. Marcus, please notify all Earth diplomatic vessels to prepare for comprehensive demonstrations of human diplomatic traditions. The ones involving antimatter. Marcus asked innocently. Indeed, we wouldn't want to appear inhospitable. As the alien representatives watched in mounting concern, Earth's diplomatic fleet began moving with perfect precision. Each vessel took up positions that just happened to cover every possible attack vector while maintaining optimal firing solutions. A proposal Diana offered to the assembled ambassadors. Perhaps we could discuss a new framework for galactic cooperation, one that recognizes Earth's diplomatic corps as exactly what we claim to be, purely diplomatic representatives with an enthusiasm for peaceful resolution. And if we decline? Ambassador Rix's crystalline form sparkled with challenge. Then we would be forced to demonstrate our diplomatic protocols in greater detail. Diana smiled benignly. Though I should warn you, the paperwork for planetary-scale cultural exchanges is absolutely dreadful. As the various representatives considered their options, Diana added a subtle reminder. Earth has maintained peace through diplomacy for over 50 years. The fact that our diplomatic corps happens to be extremely effective at conflict resolution is merely an interesting coincidence. The message was clear. Humanity didn't need a military to be the most powerful force in the galaxy. They had something far more effective, plausible deniability backed by overwhelming firepower. When diplomacy speaks, the Galactic Council chamber aboard Centaurus Station hummed with tension as representatives from 23 species gathered for what would either be a peaceful resolution or the beginning of an interstellar conflict. At the center of it all stood Ambassador Diana Reeves, still managing to look slightly disheveled while maintaining perfect tactical awareness of every exit and defensive position. Distinguished colleagues, she began, predictably knocking over a water glass that First Secretary Marcus Wong caught without looking. We are gathered here to discuss recent misunderstandings about Earth's diplomatic practices. The chamber's holographic displays showed the current crisis in stark detail. Following the Nexar incident, multiple species had begun testing Earth's responses, leading to a series of increasingly intense diplomatic exchanges. Now, a coalition of powerful civilizations demanded that Earth acknowledge its military nature. Misunderstandings. High Chancellor Vexler of the Nexar Confederation vibrated with barely contained fury. Your diplomatic corps has defeated 3 separate fleets in the past solar cycle alone. Defeated is such a harsh word, Diana mused, somehow tangling her ceremonial sash in a way that activated her personal shield. We simply engaged in enthusiastic cultural exchange. Strategic Operations Specialist Kira Volkov's hologram appeared, her image flickering as she coordinated Earth's response to yet another peaceful patrol near human space. Ambassador, we're detecting significant fleet movements across multiple sectors. It seems our friends are eager for more diplomatic discussions. The assembled representatives watched as their combined fleets moved into attack positions, each convinced that together they could force Earth to drop its chariot. Nearly 1,000 warships against Earth's mere 100 diplomatic vessels. Most concerning, Diana sighed, executing a perfect combat role while apparently trying to retrieve a dropped stylus. Though perhaps this presents an opportunity for a comprehensive demonstration of Earth's diplomatic philosophy. Enough games. Admiral Kazoth of the Meloran Republic slammed their tentacles against the council table. Either acknowledge your military nature or face the consequences. Diana's carefully maintained clumsiness vanished like morning mist. The chamber grew silent as her true bearing emerged, that of a warrior diplomat who had mastered the art of peace through superior firepower. My dear colleagues, she spoke, her voice carrying the weight of carefully restrained power. You fundamentally misunderstand humanity's greatest innovation. We did not disguise our military as diplomats. We transformed our military thinking itself. The holographic displays shifted, showing Earth's diplomatic fleet moving into perfect defensive formations. Each vessel's cultural exchange packages, which absolutely weren't planet-killing weapons, stood ready. Humanity learned long ago that the most effective weapon isn't firepower, it's confusion. When your enemies can't decide if you're harmless or lethal, they must treat every interaction as potentially both. Commander Rajesh Patel's voice came through the comm system. Ambassador, all diplomatic vessels report ready for cultural exchange demonstrations. Our negotiation facilitators are charged and targeting solutions are. Our diplomatic protocols are fully prepared. Diana smiled, and in that smile was 5,000 years of human military history transformed into something new. You see, dear colleagues, Earth maintains no military because we've evolved beyond the need for one. We simply maintain the galaxy's most effective diplomatic corps, which just happens to be exceptionally good at resolving conflicts. The chamber's tactical displays showed the coalition fleet's positions. 1,000 warships, each powerful enough to level a continent, all rendered practically useless by the simple fact that engaging them would mean admitting Earth had a military, which would violate countless treaties and justify immediate retaliation. "So here is humanity's final diplomatic proposal," Diana announced, straightening her sash to reveal the quantum phase armor beneath. "Either accept that Earth's diplomatic corps is exactly what we claim to be, peaceful representatives with an enthusiasm for resolving conflicts, or force us to demonstrate just how persuasive our diplomatic protocols can become." The coalition leaders looked at their tactical displays, then at each other. Earth's diplomatic vessels had taken positions that somehow covered every possible attack vector, while maintaining optimal firing solutions. It was the most perfect military formation ever executed, by ships that officially couldn't be military vessels. "The choice is yours," Diana concluded, her practiced smile carrying centuries of warrior wisdom. "Though I should mention that our diplomatic corps takes great pride in maintaining a 100% success rate in cultural exchanges. We would hate to damage that perfect record." One by one, the coalition leaders stood down their forces. They had finally understood humanity's true genius, not in building the galaxy's most powerful military, but in creating something far more terrifying: plausible deniability backed by overwhelming force. As the crisis dissolved into a series of formal diplomatic agreements, Diana added a final note to her report: "Peaceful resolution achieved through standard diplomatic protocols. No military actions were required or undertaken, as Earth maintains no military forces. The fact that the entire galactic community now treated Earth's diplomatic corps with the same caution reserved for superweapons was, of course, purely coincidental. After all, Earth had no military. They simply had the most effective diplomatic corps in known space, and if anyone claimed otherwise, they were always happy to schedule a comprehensive cultural exchange to discuss the matter further." The end.